Took them and cleaned them and wear them. But oh, it's hospice.
Boston is on your hat.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
See, I don't even know what these shirts, but it's a golf shirt. It's a golf shirt.
Just a nice shirt.
All right. What I suggest is that we start off with just I'd like to get a kind of a biographical. Start off when you're young.
Well, you just ask the questions and I'll answer them.
Okay. Well. Okay. So start with some of the earliest things you remember. When and where you were born.
Okay. Well, I was born here in Salt Lake City, up on 202 Fern, which is like 2 north and just off 3rd west. And that's where my mother died when I was 2. And that started my hoorah. And from there, I ended up with a stepmother who didn't like me and caused all kinds of problems in my life. And my dad was a painter. He painted houses out of town, and then I grew up. You know, and I just learned this on TV the other day, that a person's got he mentally blocks the good things in his life. You know, there was so few of them, you just don't remember them. So, and that's, yeah.
So how long did you stay here in Salt Lake?
I was here till I was, well, just over the age of 2, and then we moved to Idaho, to Burley, Idaho, where I was raised. And then I lived there till I was about 35, till my divorce, and then I moved to Salt Lake City. I had hurt my back. I moved here because I hurt my back, and I needed the VA, the hospital. It was the only medical care I could afford. So that's what brought me back.
So you talk about being in the VA. You spent time in the service?
Yes, I did 3 years, honorably discharged.
Where did you
I did my basic training in Fort Sill for artillery, and then I did 2 years at Fort Ord, and I did a year in Korea, South Korea.
And what years?
82 was the year I went in, and 85 was the year I got out.
So how old were you when you went in the service?
I think I was like 19.
Oh, so right out of...
Well, yeah, I had quit school like when I was 14 or 15, but yeah. But I got my GED while I was in the military, and so that helped.
So getting out of the service, what happened? What did you do?
Well, you know, they told me that I had to wait 5 weeks before I could get on unemployment. So I went and got a job delivering fertilizer, anhydrous ammonia, delivering anhydrous ammonia to them potato farmers. And after 5 weeks, I quit that job and got on unemployment. It's the only time I ever drew it. And then I almost got fraud charges because I joined the National Guard, and I went to fight a fire up by Salmon, Idaho, and my wife was still sending in my unemployment. And when I come back from fighting that fire, after earning like $8,000 in 10 days, I found out that was illegal. Well, I didn't know, you know. I didn't know she was sending them in either, so it was, but nothing come of that, so.
Nothing came.
No.
So then, what did you do?
Then I was a cook. I got jobs cooking after the employment thing. After the fraud thing, I thought, well, it's just easier to get work. So I worked from then on out. I was a cook, and then I eventually went into truck driving, and that's how I hurt my back.
Loading stuff?
Yeah. I stopped in Caldwell, Idaho, and I loaded a bunch of hardwood pallets up in the back of my trailer, and it plinked my disc. I herniated 3 discs, and I still had to drive to California, up over Donner Summit, chained my truck up, and it was a chore, but I made it.
So that was the end of the truck driving?
Yeah. No. Well, yeah, it was the end of my. Yeah, it was. I can't sit. This chair's hurting me right now. They only took 1 disc, so I still have 2 herniated discs. Been fighting that for 20 years. Through disability, been fighting disability for that long, and so it's been a chore.
So after that, what became?
Well, I piddled around after driving truck. I tried getting back in. We talked this morning about me working at Denny's. That's when I worked at Denny's and a couple of other places around town, Holiday Inn and the Hilton and them. And then I got to where I could only work a couple days a week because of my back, you know. And so I worked off the corner. You know, it used to be at the shelter. There'd be 100 jobs come through there every day, and that's what I would do. That's how I sustained myself for many years. Now they've moved to Home Depot, but I can't hardly do a day's work now.
Yeah. So when did you start you were on the homeless thing back then?
Yeah, I have been considered homeless since 1996 when I hurt my back. So, in and out of homelessness, you know. But yeah, it's been many years.
What was the story on the drugs and the alcohol? How did you get down to that?
Well, you know, with the back pain, I started with prescription opiates, and that led to shooting heroin, because you get physically addicted to that. And I did overcome that, but I took up crystal meth, which is actually a much better painkiller than any opiate I ever took. Yeah. And then I injected my drugs too, so that didn't help. Half your addiction is the needle, you know.
Now, what do you mean by that?
Well, you get as addicted to the needle as you do the drug, almost. It's psychological, but you do. It's not now the heroin is physical dependency, but that needle is a lot of it, you know. Yeah, you've heard that little. It's just I forget who's saying it. It's just a pinprick, you know. But it felt so good, you know. I'm done with that though.
Yeah.
I got 2 years under my belt clean, so.
Out of alcohol?
Oh, I was never much of a drinker. Although my first wife divorced me under them pretenses. I was a truck driver. I couldn't drink, couldn't do drugs, but she did divorce me under them pretenses. So.
And you've been married how many times?
Twice. Yeah. My oldest boy, he committed suicide. That was really the last time I had any contact with my children. He was in Washington, or Oregon, in Pendleton, Oregon. He hung himself, of all things, yeah.
What led up to that?
I don't know. I know now signs to look for mental illness, but I didn't back then when I was young. And I just never had a clue that my son would ever do that, but my oldest boy did. Sad day in my life.
Yeah, I'm thinking, how would you know? How could you possibly know?
Well,
I know professionals, you know, who don't have a clue either, so I'm just feeling.
well, you know, it's there's little markers that I seen back then that I know now, you know. Of course, had my life had took a turn for the worst, I might not never have been able to recognize that. You know, had I not lived the life that I live now and been on the street, because them streets teach you a lot. They really do. They don't teach you patience, but
I'm sitting here fascinated. I mean, because the education that you've been experiencing for how many years? It's 96.
Yeah.
You say is when
I hurt my back.
Officially homeless. But you've been managing a lot of challenging situations, and I'm wondering how the hell have you been managing this? There's something heroic about how you
You know, I gotta say, if it wasn't for food stamps, I couldn't. I would still be homeless because I can sell my food stamps to pay my rent. You know, and that's what I do. Currently, I'm still doing that, and I did that for years. I thank God that there's people who believe in God because I'm sketchy there, but they'll feed you, you know, if you're hungry. So thank God that I can eat.
Earlier on, you said something that really piqued my curiosity. You said that you learned, I thought you said you learned to manage to tune out the good experiences, the few good experiences that you had in your past. Is that what you said?
No, you forget.
You forget. You forget the good in your life.
My hearing's not so good.
Well, I understand that. I was in artillery, and I have a hard time hearing myself.
So, you know, what replaced the good memories?
Bad.
What do you mean?
Well, you know, a lot of kids, I don't know, they have memories. I really don't know what a normal childhood is. So,
if I understand this, it's like, let's say we have a garden and there's a few flowers in there, but so many weeds just seem to be taking over the garden that the few flowers seem to get lost.
To get lost, yeah.
To get overwhelmed.
Basically, that's a good analogy of how my life was. Yeah. The bad overtook the good. Yep.
So there you were, you know, you lost your mom when you were 2. What was that like? I mean, you were only 2, but then as your brain was developing,
You know, I tell you,
and you're with stepmom.
and my doctors and all my brothers and sisters don't agree with me, but I remember my dad shoving my mother, and that being the last time I seen her. That's the first memory I have. And the VA, oh, that's not that, you know. Well, you know what? I know it's true. I was there, and even my elder said, "No, you weren't. You know what? I seen it. I know what I saw, and that's my first memory." So
you have a memory, bottom line, of feeling powerless, seeing your mother being mistreated
by my father, yeah, and he got away with it. You know, he got away with it. So, but I got my words in when he died. When he was in the hospital right before he died, everybody left, and I was able to tell my dad, if you can hear me, blink one eye, and he did. And that whole time, all day, when he's hearing all of us talk about how he's going to die, he heard everything we said, you know. He had to, because he's sitting there communicating, 1 blink yes, 2 blinks no. And I told my dad, I said, you know, Dad, I don't ever remember you telling me you loved me, things like that. And it brought tears to his eyes. So I affected him, you know. I got my say. I didn't chew him out, but I made him, he had some feelings. I could tell.
Good for you that you were able to just be true to yourself, and you knew, you know, what hurt was caused by a relationship that was apparently never there for you.
Yeah.
And to your credit, you handled it in a way that wasn't the way he treated your mom. You handled it with some degree of
respect.
kindness and respect.
Yeah.
And do you feel good about that?
You know, satisfaction, yes. I got a lot of satisfaction out of the response I got from my dad at that particular moment. You know, he died right then, but he died knowing that I loved him, and I was aware, you know. So, yeah, there was some good come from it.
You mentioned it's coming up for you now.
Yeah.
How about stepmom? What was that like, and how many years did you endure that?
From the time I was 2 till I was 15. I watched her force my older brothers and sisters, because I had a stepbrother and a stepsister, and I had six. Because I was the baby of the family, of my family, and I seen her force all my brothers and sisters out of the house at early ages, 14, 15. You know, she just drove them off. My older brother, he did 20 years in Idaho State Penitentiary. Luckily, I didn't end up there. I wasn't criminally minded, but my sisters all got pregnant early, and you know, just devastated their lives. So
It sounds very painful for you and your siblings. I don't get a sense that there was much love or comfort.
there wasn't. There wasn't. No, my dad would go to work he would leave Sunday night and leave us with my stepmother, and then, you know, whatever happened through the week, whatever hate and discontent she wanted to, because she didn't like us. That's obviously, you know.
How did she let you guys know that?
With
How
her
did she convey her distaste?
throwing cereal on me and sending me to school. My sisters would go to school with cereal dumped on them if we did anything, you know. It was just, she didn't physically abuse us, she mentally abused us.
Which can be a lot worse.
You know, I could have took a beating, but that mental stuff sticks with you. It really does.
How much does it affect your memory, thoughts of her today?
Well, I mean, all I remember is bad things. So that's,
Yeah.
if the only thing you remember is bad about a person, you're just not going to think good, you know. So
Somebody you want to not think of at all.
I don't think of her. I don't.
And you mentioned your back.
Yeah.
You have a livelihood, and
And you lose the means of supporting yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I could pay my child support for about 4 years after that happened, but you know, I'm $40,000 in arrears on child support because I couldn't stay gainfully employed. So that in itself, you know, is, you know, so, but I paid it whenever I could. But there come a point when I couldn't pay it no more. Not and live. Any, you know, when I was working off the street corners, if you made $60 a day, you was doing good, you know. And I went to do that 2 days a week, and you're living homeless. That's expensive. To live homeless is not cheap. No, it ain't. And not unless you take care of every, you know, like St. Vincent's, they feed you, but they feed you swill. It's not good food. It's not healthy. You lose weight, you know. And my teeth, you know, I don't have no benefits at the VA, so now I don't have no teeth. You know, they need to look at that as a mental issue, or medical, because my health has went to shit because I can't eat properly. You know, has a big effect on a person. You know, people don't realize.
Before we go, I want to make sure one of us remembers to return to this issue, the VA.
Yeah.
I'm a veteran myself.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm 71, buddy. Remind me. We're gonna talk about the VA for when we're done.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Well, they've gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
I'm living off VA housing, not VA housing. HUD-VASH is the housing through county housing that I have right now. So.
All right. So you are seeing, you do have somebody who have learned about benefits.
Oh yeah, it was that van that was in front of my apartment this morning. She was my VA rep for my housing.
Got a VA rep.
Yeah.
I needed to make sure that.
Yeah, I do. I have a whole team. I have like 4 women that see to it that I'm in good shape.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Could I go back? You mentioned how expensive it is to live on the streets.
Okay.
What are the expenses you run into? Of course, food.
Well, food, and you know, along with that goes drugs. When you're in that environment, it just calls to you. You know, I mean, it really does. Housing, going to renting a room to get out of the shelter for a night. You know, even back then it was $40 a night. You know, so it gets when you only make $60 a day. And now I live on $2 a day.
How do you do it? How do you survive to feel like you're above water and able to have any kind of joy once in a while?
I don't.
Try and can you put a sort of a movie in my head what that's like?
Well, you know, I can't. I don't know anybody that lives the way I live.
How do you live?
Very meager, $100 a month. Pay my rent and I buy my tobacco, and that covers $100 a month.
What, bear with me. What time do you get up typically?
Oh, 7:30.
All right, and walk me through a typical day in the life of Wayne.
Well, right now it's I'm waiting on the Easter Seals program, which I hope happens pretty soon. I was talking to Fred; he's trying to get on it too. But I turn my TV on and watch the news. Pretty much it.
So, you know, it's pretty much you and the television.
Pretty much.
Anything else you care to watch on television?
Well, I mean, westerns. I don't have cable, so I got to deal with free TV, which is all westerns.
Do you have a favorite news station?
Channel 2.
What's Channel 2?
KUTV.
Oh, maybe that's...
That's here in Salt Lake.
Oh.
KUTV News, yeah, Channel 2 News.
Well, how does it differ today, where you've got a place to stay, with when you're living on the street? What's living on the street like?
Well, for one, it's dangerous. I've been robbed. I've been stabbed. I mean, to have a house to go to is a lot different than living on the street. But the VA still, to this day, considers me homeless. I'm still considered homeless with the VA till I get a Section 8 voucher, which I'll get that in about 8 months. I'm on a program. This HUD-VASH is, they put you're on a program where there's 4 phases I go through, and then I'll get my Section 8 voucher, which I'm on what they call a program based. So my voucher stays with my apartment, not with me. You see what I mean?
So when you get that Section 8,
then I can take it anywhere in the country.
Oh, you won't. It doesn't mean you have to stay at the place you are now. You could stay at the place you are.
I hope so. I like where I live, but I was having that thought just the other day: are they going to make me move in a year? But I don't think they will. But I think I'll be able to keep that apartment. So.
How did you run into Bernie?
I was down when I ended up homeless down in the shelter. A guy says, "Come to Tai Chi," so I come to Tai Chi, and that's how I met Bernie.
But you've got a real background in martial arts.
Yeah, well, when I was younger, I did. I had a brown belt in Shotokan karate, and then when I went to Korea, I started taking Taekwondo and Kung Fu. I took them for both a year. The year I was in Korea, kept me out of a lot of trouble.
Just because someone goes to jail, I don't know any statistics on this, but that doesn't mean that you change your life. But you did.
Well, after like 22 times of going out here to this ADC, but I've never did no real jail time. I mean, I've never been to prison. I've never even been charged with a felony. Which a guy with having the trouble that I've had, most guys would have been out robbing and pillaging, and I just wasn't willing to do that.
Why not? A lot of people do.
Because I didn't want to go to prison. I didn't like jail.
You're smart enough to know that
I had a brother that spent 20 years. I didn't want to end up in the shape my brother did.
Okay, I get that. So
Yeah.
you knew what he went through, and it helped, and it got in your head, no?
Well, yeah, from the time I was, he was like 5 years older than me, and he was 18 when he went into prison. He went to prison. In the state of Idaho, he wrote 3 checks for totaling less than $50. He did 20 years prison. And I'm thinking to myself, wow. You know, that even when I was a kid and didn't know the value of money, I'm thinking that was pretty stupid. That and my stepmother always put in my head that all they fed you was worm sandwiches and water. I heard that on TV today. So she got it off TV, but you know, it stuck with me.
What specifically are you doing? 2 years free and clean. How do you do it? What's your support system? Do you go to NA?
No, I don't believe they do. I don't believe any of that rehab works. I'm a firm believer that a person has to do what I did and just get enough of it. Because you know what I'm saying? Enough is enough, and that's where I was at 2 years ago. And Father's Day was my 2-year anniversary, so I was proud of that.
Something just changed in your head. Now, do you think it's a coincidence that this happened on a Father's Day 2 years ago?
No, that wasn't a coincidence. That was my landlord's fault.
What do you mean?
Well, when I lived at Palmer Court, I had this girlfriend, and she was a mental case. I didn't know that when I took her on as a girlfriend. But she got kicked out of Palmer Court. I got kicked out of Palmer Court, and then I got this apartment 2 blocks away. So she calls me up one night and says, Wayne, I got kicked out. Can I come stay with you for tonight? And I said, all right, you know, but you got to leave tomorrow. Well, 2 weeks later, she was still there, and then the landlord called the police and told them that I was holding a woman hostage against her will, forcing her to do drugs. That's what my landlord did.
How did he get that idea?
I don't have a clue. I don't know. Sounds like it. Well, you know what? I did find out later that he wanted, I had a neighbor, a guy that lived next to him, and his sister wanted that apartment. And he billed the shelter, helped me get into that apartment, money-wise, and he got $2,000 out of them, and then booted me out. And it was a plan he had. It was a plan, and then that other girl woman wanted to move in, so all I did was fill a vacancy for a minute.
But that's when you hit bottom?
Oh no, I had hit bottom way before that.
Well, I thought you said that was the landlord.
Well, he just got me kicked out of that place. I've been kicked.
That would have made some people think I got to get high today.
Well, you know, that's what triggered me not doing drugs, was that incident. But
Well, there's something powerful there. And where did that power come from? Because another event came crashing in on Wayne.
yeah.
And you rose above it. Tell me about that power.
I don't know that it was power. I just got it in my head I wasn't doing it no more. You know what I'm saying?
If I may respectfully say, that sounds like power to me.
Well, okay, good. Maybe it is, and it very well could be. But I don't know one way or another.
You just said
that was enough.
Okay, this sucks, but I'm not going
back to jail. Yeah.
And well, then what did you? Then what?
Well, then I went out. I still had a voucher for housing. So I ended up back in the shelter, and then I ended up out on the freeway by the Flying J truck stop. There where 201 comes off on 9th West, and for the next year I flew a sign right there. That's where I flew a sign and made money every day for a year almost.
What was on the sign?
Homeless vet.
Homeless
vet.
Homeless vet.
Vet.
Yeah.
That's the sign. When I fly a sign, I fly a vet sign. It's a trump card when you're flying a sign. People respond to it. You know, so.
It's good for how much a day usually? Average?
60. Yeah. Some, you know, depends on where you're at. There's a corner on 5300 South and Redwood Road. Right there there's a Shopko right there. And I was there 3 hours one day and brought $170.
That was a good day.
Oh, yeah, I had a good day. I was all happy that day. But you know, the vet sign helped, and I was. A lot of people want to see your vet card. Yeah, they do. They do.
How interesting. And you got one.
I do. Yeah, I got it. Fact is, it's right here. You don't?
I got my.
You ain't got a
certificate.
You ain't got a medical card from the VA?
No, I have to go over there for to see about hearing aids.
That's what-
So I'm gonna end up.
Yeah.
One of those, man.
Yeah, you know, it takes 30 days to get it now. They come out of Texas. They used to make them right there at the emergency room, but they don't do that no
I mean,
more.
I am fascinated by how you're staying clean. I mean, I worked a lot with chemically dependent people, and that's why I say I'm amazed, because I know it. I mean, you haven't gone to NA, and I
No.
understand if you.
I mean,
understand
I've been
if
to
you
a
don't.
few. I've been to an AA meeting, you know, through the years.
But something else
But-
works better for you, and it sure sounds like
Deciding you're done with
it
it.
sure sounds like willpower to me.
Well, it is willpower. It is. You know, I must have pretty good willpower, because my last stint down there at the shelter, I don't know if you've been down around there, they used to have this wall, people sticking needles in their arms all day long over there, and it didn't bother me. You know, it really didn't bother me. I was glad that I wasn't a part of that anymore.
This is going to sound silly, but my addiction is sugar. I consider myself an addict.
Okay.
Now I cannot be around. If I'm at let's say a social gathering and there's a lot of cakes and pastry, that's like an alcoholic being around booze. I honestly.
Yeah, I used to have that problem.
But you're around a lot of people today and yesterday and tomorrow, and how do you just say no, you know, to what you could use too?
Well, I tell you, you lose a lot of friends, or people you thought were your friends. You know, when you tell them that, no, I don't do that no more, they don't want to be your friend.
That's absolutely right.
You're the bad guy.
That's absolutely
You know,
right.
they're sticking needles in their arm, but you're the one that's the asshole.
Right.
Okay. And, you know, after you come clean for a while, you realize that those people were never your friends. I mean,
If you don't mind,
it's true. It's amazing the change that goes on with your brain when you've got an addiction.
wait, you're thinking all the time, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Where do you get that from?
Boy, not my dad. Or my mom. Well, I don't know. I didn't know my mom.
How do you step?
My stepmom. You know, I got a whole half of my family that I really don't know. And that's a sad thing in life. It really is. Because they're in Logan, Utah, is where all my mother's family lives. And I don't even know them. And they're just, you know, right up there. It's not very far, but, you know,
Do you want to get to them?
not at this point. They didn't want to get to know me, so, you know.
You've come to accept that
Yeah,
this is the best solution available to you.
Yeah. I remember when I was living in Idaho and I was married, my mother's mother moved to Burley, and she wanted me and my sister Sherry to cater to her. And I had to tell her, I said, Grandma, when I was 5 years old and I'd see you driving down 16th Street and I'm on the corner waving and you just drive on, how do you think that made me feel, you know? And I was took out of her will. She took me out of her will, which didn't hurt. It didn't bother me. Yeah, that didn't bother me either. So
Wait, how old are you?
I'm 56.
56. What do you see 5 years from now? Where do you imagine you will be, and what do you imagine you'll be doing?
Oh, well, I hope, because I got my disability going again. I got a good lawyer this time, and I'm hoping I'm right where I'm at with, you know, my money every month. I mean, if if I could make a couple $100 a month, it would make a big deal for me. I'm so used to living flat broke, you know. So with no VA benefits or, I was in the Army at the perfect time, I can't even get a non-service connected disability. So, and I'm not service connected except for my hearing, and I can't convince them of that either. So.
I thought the VA would assist you with your hearing if you're a veteran.
With what?
If you're a veteran with hearing problems, I thought the VA would assist you with that.
Well, I've got to be the most unlucky guy on this earth because I've brought that issue up to them and nothing ever comes from it.
And you were in artillery.
Yeah.
That doesn't make a difference.
No.
Have you talked to your lawyer about this?
I haven't.
I don't want to give you false hope, but I'm just...
Well, I mean, I never thought of a lawyer as far as the VA because with my hearing, all I'm going to get is 10%, which is $135 a month.
They give you hearing aids.
Well, they may, but I don't know.
Just something to think about, to run by.
Well, I've been down to the Order of the Purple Heart, and I signed up to get some service connected because I had a hernia operation when I was in the Army, and I mean it's just not my hearing, it's my hernia too, and then I got kicked out of Freedom Landing. I don't know if you ever heard of Freedom Landing.
Yeah.
It's on North Temple, 1900 Southwest North Temple. It's all for veterans. That was the most miserable place I ever lived. I was drug free, and all these alcoholics running around telling on the drug addicts, and I'm telling them, look, I don't want part of this, leave me out of it. And then one guy said, I'm going to tell the cops you're not doing drugs, and they, and don't tell that cop nothing. Don't even bring my name into it, that's a drunk talking.
Well, when I ask you about 5 years from now, and you say you're hoping it'll be like now, that tells me that you're feeling some degree of being on a sense of solid ground, all things considered. Am I getting that right?
I don't feel like I'm on solid ground, no.
But when we talk about 5 years from now...
Well, I mean, that's a hope. A hope isn't solid to me. I've been hoping for 25 years.
Maybe you're hoping it won't be less than what you have now.
Well, if it is, I'm in a world of hurt. So, but we'll see what my lawyer does for me this time.
And you feel it's a good man.
Well, he's a good woman. It's Diane Cannon down here. The VA kind of, it's against the law for them to recommend anybody a lawyer, but they did recommend her. So, and I'm already getting mail from. I had this guy when I lived at Palmer Court, and I went through disability. I mean, it took 3 years from the time I signed up with that guy to get through the whole thing to go see the judge downtown. And I talked to that guy maybe 10 minutes in those 3 years. I'm not kidding. So, I mean, I would have thought that I've had more communication with this lawyer than I had the whole time with my other lawyer. So.
We're trying to get a sense of who Wayne is, what he's been through. We're really trying to learn about you. What's something that we haven't asked that would be helpful for us to say to you?
Well, I don't know. I come here thinking I was going to be asked questions. So, this morning my mind goes blank. I mean, I don't know. I've had 2 bad marriages and bad childhood, bad adult life. I hope it can get better. That's pretty much it.
So you're going to the Tai Chi class.
Yeah.
And since you've moved way the hell out there, you're willing to bicycle down.
I loaned that guy my bike and he lost that damn bike. And your lock. You gave me a lock. So on the 5th, I got a bike. I'm going to buy it. But yeah, I mean, I have to. I mean, it's something to do. Otherwise, I'll just lock myself up in that apartment and become a recluse.
How often a bicycles get stolen from the homeless community?
Oh man, every day. If you don't lock a bike up, it's gone. And it don't matter if you're homeless or not. I mean, if you don't lock it up, some homeless thug will, and take it right down the shelter, and it could be $100, $1,000 bike, and he'll sell it for $20. Just to get a fix on some dope. Yeah, it's terrible, the bike scene.
So doing the Tai Chi gives you something to do. Can you think of anything else to do during the day?
Well, I was at that food bank today, and I was thinking, well, maybe I could come down here and volunteer and help these people, because I go there every week, but a lot of, it ain't actually. If I could get that Easter Seals thing going, that would give me an income, and it don't affect my housing, and it don't affect your Social Security or nothing like that, and that would be a great help.
What's the Easter Seals thing?
It's a program. Well, you remember the stamps that used to come through the mail, Easter Seals? It's the same organization. But you can, at the age of 55 and older, you can go to work for this Easter Seals, and they'll work you 24 to 29 hours a week.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So what would you be doing?
Well, I'm trying to get on with Bernie, and I, whatever Bernie wants me to do, I don't care. Whatever, I don't know. Bernie's kind of a control freak in a sense. I don't mean to talk bad about him, but he, so whatever he wants me to do, I'm willing to do. So, but the Tai Chi's been pretty cool. He wants me to be a leader. You bought me that DVD player. So, and I'm, up until the DVD player quit working, I had gotten to like number 9 on that. So,
How far away? How many miles are you away
from here?
From here.
I live on 5300 South, 77 West. That new hospital up on 5300. I live right across the street from that.
So how did you get here today?
He lives very, very close to me.
Yeah, he comes and gets me for Tai Chi, and
Oh yeah. How long does it take you to bike it? How long did it take you to bike it?
that one day it took me 3 hours to get home, but it was 96 degrees outside. So
Enough to kill you.
yeah, oh yeah, you know what? It almost did. But I got smart. I've been saving my little Tai Chi dollars for bus fare home. If today from here I'm gonna go up to that food bank, and I got $1.25 that I can catch the bus home. So. But that helps. I got $6 a week. But it's better than blank.
When you're at home watching TV, do you ever get bored?
Oh yeah.
What do you think about or wish you could do?
Well, I wish I had a card. I could go fishing or, stuff I used to do. I haven't been fishing in 20 years, so.
Yeah, just not having money and not having a car. Everything you're interested in.
You can't do anything.
Yeah.
Everything takes money.
You gotta walk or
Yeah. Yeah, there's very little to do around anywhere, and it just this place. It's anywhere in the world that's free, and if it ain't free, I can't partake.
unless you're volunteering your time.
Exactly, yeah. And there's I'm kind of picky about who I would donate my time to.
And it's going to cost you to volunteer.
It does. There's living where I live, clear down south like that, there's bus fare back, that's $5 a day to get down there and back, so it's an expense. I mean, it really is.
Is there any, I don't know anything about bus fare in this county? Is it only like senior discount?
Yeah. If you're 62, you get half fare.
You're not 60.
No, I'm not. But I can get on the bus and put $1.25 in the thing and get a transfer and go anywhere I want. So, and that's what I'm going to do today. I'll carry my food down to second south, and then I'll take the bus and buy a transfer, and that'll get me all the way home. So there's ways around it.
Streetways, right?
Yeah. You got to figure this stuff out.
This question may sound redundant, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You know, I'm fascinated. You know, you don't see yourself as having power, but you've got some resource within you that is really strong. And if I were, okay, the question is, where do you get your strength from?
Well, I really don't know. I mean, it's do it or do or die. You know, I mean.
From talking to you, I've heard you say a couple times, I just wouldn't do it. So it sounds like you've got a sense of ethics.
Oh, I do.
That is pretty much a guiding light for you.
You know, I do have a good sense of ethics. I do believe that. And I believe that came from my LDS upbringing. You know, I do. I think that I was raised LDS. And not that I believe in that religion, but they are based on good. You know, they really are. And
you see that and you practice it.
Well, I try.
Yeah. Is there anything about their organization that might still appeal to you? Because they're very organized.
About the LDS?
Yeah, I mean they
well, you know,
do
they're
things for their people.
I just see them as one of the biggest givers in the world. I mean, I worked for the LDS Church out to international, where they do they put. Well, I've worked at a couple of, but I'm at the mattress factory where they make mattresses, and the humanitarian center is what I'm working. It's where they get all the clothes and they ship it off to different countries, and I mean that's a big facility. That really is. That's amazing what they do out there. But yeah, just as a whole, it's, you know, they're that's, I believe, the reason I am who I am is because of the upbringing I had with the LDS Church.
You see and I'm not pushing nothing.
Oh,
Do you see anything beneficial about being affiliated in the ward that you're in now?
In a ward? You know, there was some missionaries come to my house the other day, and fact is, my mental health guy, that's what even got it started, was my mental health from the VA come out to my apartment, and we looked up where the churches were, and there's a Mormon church just 2 blocks away from me, because I was going to see if I could go get a food order from them, you know. And then the missionaries come that Sunday, and it turns out that that's a LDS church is just for young people. They told me I was too old to go to that church, that I had to go to 6400. And I told them, well, I ain't gonna go there. I can't get there. That's what they told me. They told me that ward was for young adults. So, and as far as going out there to Welfare Square, you got to be transient to get any help out there. Otherwise, you got to talk to your bishop.
Okay, bear with me, because you guys know a lot more about LDS than I do. Okay, so they referred, you're at 5400. They are referring you to a ward at 10 blocks. Was it 10 blocks?
Yeah.
Okay, if you lived at 6300, would you go to that ward?
I would. Well, I don't believe I would go to the church. No. Because I don't believe in their religion.
Yeah. Do you have to go to like the services to benefit from
yeah, pretty much you do. I mean, you got to show some, and they, believe me, they keep track of all that. They got my whole history.
That's what I heard.
They do.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
You know, the Mormons aren't the only game in town. And I'm not saying you got to go to church, because I'm not really much of a church guy. Sometimes, not all the time. I'm just wondering, like sometimes organizations that we get affiliated with can, we can be of service to them, and they can be of service to us back. And maybe there's like some other kind of church.
Well, the only problem with that is, I have found through the years, is they want something in return. And I'm not a churchgoer. So, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah.
Like typing.
Exactly. When I come out of Korea, I got home and I got a bill in the mail, through the mail, for the Mormon church telling me that I owed them this much. It was like a $400 bill. And that was back for upkeep on the church and my tithing, and that's pretty much squashed the Mormon church for me. Yeah. When I got a bill in the mail.
Sorry to take you on that silly goose chase, buddy.
You didn't take me on it.
They did.
Yeah. But the Mormon church, they're a good installation. They're an institution as far as helping. I just ain't willing to go as far as they want me to go.
I appreciate that. What's something that what's something you might want to ask us?
Ask who?
Ask us.
Oh, well, you two were both in the military, right? That seems to be our common ground. Where did you serve?
Vietnam vet.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah.
I figured so much. And you are too, right? Vietnam? Yeah. See, I was, I just learned the era. I was the Cold War era. Cold War era, yeah. Yeah, 82 to 85, and they have a certificate that I can get. For fighting the Cold War, yeah. You know what? I'll tell you what that does. That makes me feel bad. Because my dad fought in 2 wars, World War II and Korea. He had 3 Purple Hearts, 2 Bronze Stars, and I joined the military. I was destined to join the Army, and I go and join, and I know it was just time, but to be treated by the VA as less than a vet, that's how I feel. I feel discriminated against having served, because there's a lot of guys who were in the Army at the same time that I know couldn't even make it, and I feel discriminated against very badly because of the way they treat me.
Yeah, I know a lot of Vietnam vets feel similar. You volunteer and serve your country.
Well, yeah, but you know what? At least you have some benefits. I have none.
See, I didn't understand that part.
Yeah, see. They make me feel less than a soldier. They do.
Well, it's a bureaucracy.
I understand that.
You know the language, and you need somebody who can speak that language.
Well, you know what? When I don't qualify for a non-service connected disability because I wasn't in a war zone for 24 hours. Well, you know what? Then I learned on the news that Trump is trying to end the Korean War. Now, that's what's going on. That's how they're referring to that. They're trying to end the Korean War. Now, should that not change my status with seems to me I was there during, there was 2 people shot and killed when I was over there.
They're going to put you in uniform if there wasn't conflict.
Exactly.
Or potential conflict.
I think, Wayne, if you wrote a letter to the president, he would resolve this for you.
That's not a bad idea, though. I never thought about writing Trump. Because I'm not necessarily pro-Trump, but I'm not against Trump. Some of the shit he's pulling with this migration and, but I think he's all right.
I'm getting down to the very last here.
Okay.
Anything else?
I just really respect what you're doing for yourself.
Thank you.
I admire your story. I think it's, I don't know if I ask myself, well, gosh, if I had suffered the things that Wayne has been through, where would I be? Would I be on drugs? I wouldn't just be on cupcakes, buddy. And I just want to say I really admire how you have been standing strong with yourself, because you're tempted every day. And that just says a lot about you, pal.
Well, if I'd have been stronger when I was younger, it would have saved me a lot of headache. If I hadn't, of course, when you're hurt and you're getting addicted, your doctor's giving you pain pills and you don't realize, but I'll tell you, that wasn't even the beginning of it. When I was a kid, my younger brother was allergic to bees. So his doctor took me and taught me how to give a shot intravenously to my brother in case he got stung around me, because he had to take phenobarbital. All right? Well, my whole life, up until I was about 12, I took Dexedrine, which is dexomethamphetamine. All right? So then my parents separated, and
You were taking that
because I was hyperactive.
Okay.
All right. And then my folks...
Did your stepmother take you in for that?
Did she what?
Who took you in to see a doctor who could prescribe?
Well, my stepmother and my father. He was a painter. He had insurance and them, But then when they separated, I didn't realize I was in withdrawal. No one knew what withdrawal was,
The doctor wasn't monitoring.
That's right. Well, I discovered street speed. Crosstops. I don't know if you've all heard of crosstop speed. It was bennies, is what they referred them to. And I got to eating them, and then, the first time I was introduced to a needle, I was 16, and I told the guy, well, I know how to do that. Doctor showed me how to do this. So, I'm sure that them doctors and my stepmother didn't foresee this in my future, but I do now understand what caused, and so.
Let me ask you one last question. You had that. What's it like not having your bike? What can you do now that you can do that?
You know what? My friend just lost my bike. I loaned him my bike, and he brought it down here and lost that thing. So, I tell you, it's a real imposition not having a bike.
What were you doing with it?
Well, I could come to Tai Chi in the morning, or I could just go for a bike ride, go out on the bike trail. We got a whole 105 miles of bike trail to ride out here. And
Great bike trail.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, if you were to go back in time, if you could do it all over again, and he comes to you or somebody else comes to you and says, can I borrow your bike, what would you do?
Oh, well, I'd tell him no. If I'd known, but hindsight's always better than foresight. So I probably would have still loaned him my bike.
You probably would have still loaned it.
Yeah, and I still lost it.
But where does that leave you, being a nice guy like that to the wrong guy?
Well, it just leaves me the nice guy without a bike. That's what it leaves me.
Because you got to take care. We all got to take care of ourselves first.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be people who are going to forget that they're supposed to take care of us in kind, like this fellow you talked about.
Yeah. Some people's brains don't work the same. That's something I just really am getting an education to right now.
Do you see yourself? Would you see yourself as somebody who was selfish if you didn't loan your bike?
No. No.
Just
I'm not a selfish person.
I really get that, but that would just be self-care to say, I've had problems loaning a bike, and I just don't want to lose another bike.
Well, I won't loan it again, I'll tell you that much. Because I got one on the 5th, when I sell my food stamps, I got one that I'm going to buy.
Where are you going to get it?
Well, from a friend of mine that comes to Tai Chi. Dave, the crazy Dave, he's going to sell me one. That's where I bought my last one from.
What's he going to charge you?
$30.
So is it a good bike?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah. This is actually a little better than that one, so
We have a lock for it.
I'll get one. he gave me a lock, and I gave my lock to the guy, and when he come home,
Yeah, lock it up.
you know what? I asked him, "Where's my bike?" I don't know. I said, "Did you lock it up?" No.